You have to be able to communicate effectively, and also repair patients when necessary. Because the way that medicine is practiced is that you don't have to do everything by yourself. Anything that they have made it as such that there are teams working together. You come and see a patient in the ward being co-managed by the neurosurgery unit, the endocrinology unit, all to optimize patient care. So it's your duty to refer patients, when it's outside your jurisdiction. And then you have to also be able to treat our patients with respect and dignity. So now, when you breach your contract, the things that can happen if you breach this duty of care that you have as a healthcare professional, you can cause patients harm. And what is it that we're doing? We're trying to save lives. We're trying to give beneficence and cause non-maleficence and all of those things. So you don't want to cause harm. And if any of those things happen, you're going to be up for professional and disciplinary action, like our barrister Moses was telling us about people that they are suspending their licenses maybe because of one thing or the other, what they have done. And then you can also need to see of Chimamanda that he was also telling us about, that she's suing them and she's going to charge them a lot of money on damages. And you guys, no amount of money that you charge can be able to compensate for the amount of loss that she has had to deal with. So you now see that it is very, very important what we are doing, our duty of care, that we take it very seriously. Now, it's going to lead me directly into medical negligence. And I wanted to tell us that one other thing that can happen when we reach the expected standard of care that is expected of us as medical professionals, we lose public trust. And we all know the importance of trust. You have been in relationships and different situations where you lost trust in someone, and you know how hard it is to break trust and how hard it is to build it back. And it's not something that we want to lose. So, in your practice as a medical professional, whatever it is that you decide to do, you have to take it upon yourself that you are going to do your work as if it's something that God has given to you, because it is. That's what it is actually, that gift. And you're going to tell yourself that you are going to try as much as possible. Yes, we are human beings. Yes, we have our flaws. We might make mistakes here and there, and we'll be exhausted because we are not machines and all of those things. But you have to show up at your best. You have to make sure that you do your best to deliver that expected standard of care. Like Barrister said, he said you don't have to go above and beyond. There's a minimum requirement. There's the expected thing that you're supposed to get. So now, medical negligence, like he said, happens when a healthcare professional fails to provide that standard of care that is expected of a reasonably competent professional, and it can lead to patient harm. So they said that he has already said it before, so I'm just like recapping and rushing. That first of all, for you to see that medical negligence has occurred, the duty of care, you must have had like that responsibility that, okay, yes, I'm going to do this, and then that duty was breached, and then that breach caused harm, and then an actual damage occurred. So he has already mentioned all these things, but I just want to talk about it again and let you see it. So these are common causes. You would see misdiagnosis, common causes of medical negligence and delayed diagnosis, failure to monitor patients adequately to one reason or the other, whatever it is. These are things that we can prevent. Failure to obtain informed consent, poor documentation, surgical mistakes, medical errors, all of these things. And you now see that the kind of thing that's entrusted to us. When I was talking earlier, I said that I don't know why they have given us all these responsibilities. The reason why, as medical doctors, you have the kind of prestige and all of those things that you have is because the kind of thing that's entrusted to you is something of the utmost honor and dignity, the human life. And you now see that the consequences, of course, of what will happen if that life is misused or if it's mistreated in any way is going to be a lot. And I think that's why lawyers and all these other ethics and all these things are there to make us understand the importance of these lives that we are responsible for. So it's something you must always keep in mind, that you have been given. They say that to whom it's about power and responsibility. But I cannot remember the exact things now. But more and more, I think, to whom much is given, much is expected. And you now see that we have been given something like very huge, the responsibility of protecting human life. And you see that much is expected of us. So, there's a lot that we have to do. And for you to come into this profession, you have to know that you have to do work, you have to avail yourself to be able to serve people. Because at the end of the day, this thing is a humanitarian work that we have come to do. We have come to help people. You're not giving anything much from it. It's just the reward of knowing that you're serving and that you're serving God in your own way. So now let me talk about preventing negligence, and I think that that would be the end of my presentation. So to prevent negligence, you have to be able to maintain clinical competence. You have to always update, like I said, what you don't know, go and learn it. Medicine is evolving. There's always new knowledge. To always be evolving with the new knowledge. You have to follow evidence-based practice. Very important. You cannot come after inventing things to do in patient life, because those people are not, like they said, we are not animals. An animal cannot be a patient. So you have to follow what has been seen and tested and trusted, so that you can be able to help people. Evidence-based. You have to be able to communicate effectively. One thing that is very important, if you feel like you cannot do this, that you are tired or whatever reason it is, communicate. Provisions will be made to supplement for you. One time when I was working, we had like a colleague that wasn't feeling so well, and she fainted, like she collapsed, and everybody was worried. I was like, what's this, like, why are you even coming to work? And this is the importance. Anything that happens in the course of what, like, luckily for us, you now see that nothing was happening. She did not cause any patient any harm. But you now see that these are the things that will make lawyers pounce upon us, because how can you even, you're not well and you want to come and take care of people. So this is where you should communicate and say, okay, this is this, like, I don't feel so good. And provisions are made. That whole period, they did not allow her to come to work. They told her to go on leave. They told her to go and rest, go and take care of yourself. Because she communicated. And this is because they know that you have to be well and optimal to be able to take care of other people. Now you have to document thoroughly. You have all seen how we have been repeating documentation. We have been repeating it over and over and over again. If it's the only thing that you go away with this night, that is fine by me, because it's what will help you, what will save you in your practice. And then, most importantly, you have to prioritize patient safety. Whatever it is that you are doing it for the patients. Don't do to show yourself. Don't do to get the glory. Only prioritize patient safety, and then seek help whenever you don't know anything. Now, to conclude, in conclusion, you have seen that you cannot separate law from medicine in the grand scheme of things, and ethics helps us doctors to show us like what is right to do in every situation. And what the law does, very important, is that they establish those minimum standards of acceptable conduct. Like he was saying, we have Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, those statutory bodies like he mentioned. So they tell us that this is what you should do, this is what is expected of you. So it's very important that we have this. And then finally, to end, they say that a good physician treats the disease, and the great physician treats the patient who has the disease. We should all aspire to be great physicians. So now, thank you for your attention. Thank you for staying with me and for coming back to listen and to learn. And I feel very honored that I to talk with all of us. Thank you very much. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rosemary. Thank you so much for this impactful session. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I learned a lot, and I believe my colleagues also learned a lot. Thank you so much. It's over to you, Dr. Barrister Kosi Sochukwu. Please, the floor is yours. Barrister. Barrister Kosi Sochukwu, the floor is yours now. Okay.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Rosemary. I really enjoyed the talk and I learned a lot. I didn't even know that. I didn't know much about until I heard you speak. That's so interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you, Collins, for putting this together. Thank you, my colleague, who is also my friend, Moses. And thank you, Dr. His name, and I didn't get the last name, sorry. I really enjoyed listening to all of you. And it's been a long night. Wow. Thank you. So, it's really funny that I'm here because when I was in secondary school, I actually wanted to be a medical doctor. I won't lie. My mom wanted me to study medicine, but I guess God wanted other things for me. So it's really funny being here with doctors and having to speak the section between law and medicine. Thank you so much. I see law as a very interesting profession because it somehow connects you to a lot of people from different fields. Now today I'm here with medical doctors trying to discuss the intersection between medicine and law. Yeah, of course there's an intersection. I didn't even know until I started studying medicine. I started studying law. Sorry. So I'm going to speak on 4 subtopics because when Collins told me about this, I was really impressed, and I remember asking him, "Do you want me to discuss the whole medical law because it's a lot?" And he said no, that there are like few points he wants me to talk about, and I said okay, fine. So I made a slide, but because it's already late and it's been a long night, like I said, so I'll do more of summary. So I'll just summarize most of it as I want to. So I'll be very brief. And Dr. Zemina have actually more like laid the proper foundation on what I want to speak on. So I'll just summarize more likely. So I'm just going to speak on role of medical evidence in criminal investigations, autopsy reports and determination of cause of death, sexual assault examination in legal proceedings, DNA and forensic science in modern justice system, expert medical witnesses, and courtroom testimony. Okay, basically this is the 4 things I just listed, 5, that intertwine. It's just evidence law. All of them. It's just evidence law, and if you are a law student or a lawyer and you are interested in litigation, you can't run away from evidence law because it's basically the fulcrum of litigation. You can't prove anything in court without evidence. So that's just basically it. So I'll just start from the beginning. Not like I'll just want to lay a foundation before I start. Like I said, this is going to be a summary. Please forgive me. I'm not going to use my slide because I already need to take my time. So in law, we have 2 types of proceedings basically. That if a cause of action arises, what I mean by cause of action means if something happens, there are 2 ways you can pursue depending on the kind of case that is. It's either a criminal proceeding or a civil proceeding. And criminal proceeding is basically a crime has been committed and you are taking this person to court because of this crime. Civil proceeding is basically means okay, this person did something to me. We agreed on something, and this person is not doing his own part. So I want to take this person to court to either to get a repayment or anything, depending on what the matter is. So that's basically. So there are differences between these 2 proceedings, but the most major difference is basically the outcome of the proceedings. The outcome of the proceedings is what I mean by some consequences. So criminal proceedings carry more severe consequences, more like it comes with severe punishments, like your freedom will be taken away from you, that's imprisonment, or sometimes your life, because there's something called death sentence and you are losing your life. So yes, especially for modern cases, capital offenses. So that's just it. So when it comes to criminal proceedings, how do you something has happened and a crime has been committed. So how do you carry out as a lawyer? How do you carry out this how do you carry out professional service? So most times there's something called burden of proof. So it basically means burden of proof basically means okay, I'm alleging that something has happened. I'm talking about criminal proceedings now. I'm alleging that something has happened, and if the burden is on me to prove it, that's what the law says. Section 131 of the Evidence Act. The burden of proof is on the person that is alleging. If you said I killed this person, the state, because any offense that you commit in Nigeria, you committed against the state, not the human being. The person is just acting as the nominal complainant. So the state is suing you. If any state government says I killed somebody, the burden is on the state to prove that I actually killed that person. And exactly, he who assassins me, yes. So basically, if any of the state is saying I killed somebody and the person has to prove it in court, and how will the state government prove this in court? It's going to prove it beyond reasonable doubt, because when it comes to criminal matters, the law or the courts and the law, yes, is usually very cautious and very careful when dealing with criminal matters because of the consequences that comes with it. So there is even a saying, I think it was in Emeka JC that said that it is better for 99 criminals to escape or let them go than for you to convict one innocent person that did not commit that crime. So the court is usually very, very careful when dealing with criminal matters. So that's why the prosecution, that's the person that is alleging, the state or that is alleging, or the federal government, depending on the kind of thing that is alleging, is saying you must prove it beyond reasonable doubt. There are no emotions in court, whether you are crying, whatever. So how do you discharge these duties? How do you discharge these duties? How do you discharge the duty of proving beyond reasonable doubt? Most times, that's where medical doctors come. So, depending on the kind of case, because when you're dealing with criminal matters, I'm using criminal matters because that's almost where we see medical doctors because of the kind of cases they handle, sexual assault, the kind of cases most criminal lawyers handle. Usually relates to things that start from the hospital down to the courtroom. Let's say murder, armed robbery, there was a gunshot and the person was rushed to the hospital. This was done in the hospital. Then from that, we now move to the courtroom to prove something. So that's how it usually is. So this is where medical doctors help lawyers to strengthen their case in court. So and how do they do this? They do this through evidence. That's why I said everything I'm talking about here is based on evidence. The truth is, because you discharge the duty of care. I'm sorry, you discharge the burden of proof, which you are going to prove beyond reasonable doubt through evidence. And in law, there are different types of evidence. But I'm going to just limit it to documentary evidence now. I'm going to just limit it to documentary evidence. So the doctor's report, the forensic documentation of the doctors have made in the beginning part. So the autopsy test in case of a murder case, all those things, that documentary evidence that doctors tender in court as evidence to help us win a case, especially criminal matters. So when a doctor is, so that's why I said I agree with Dr. Ozemena when he said whether medical doctors like it or not, they are legal actors, and they are tools lawyers use in pursuit of justice. Yes, that is very true. And also I agree with him when he said the emergency room is the first courtroom before the main courtroom. I think that's what, I can't remember, but I think that's what he said. And I actually agree with him because that is actually how it works in practice, truly. So like I said, doctors help us discharge this duty. That's I'm saying, if I'm a state council, I'm representing Enugu State in trying to prove that Mr. Obi has killed this person. And so I'll need a doctor to come and to come and testify in court and tender those documents, the forensic documentation he had made in the beginning of the case. That's pre-trial investigation. That's where it starts. The police starts asking questions and all that. So generally, opinion, personal opinions don't matter in court. Opinion evidence is inadmissible in court generally, according to the evidence man. Is inadmissible in court. So, but what matters in court is the opinion of an expert. So, let's say I'm going to use a scenario of somebody that has been poisoned, and the person went to the hospital first. They did a lot of things, but he couldn't make it, so he died. And the suspect has been charged to court, and the suspect is saying, I did not kill this person. The person did not eat anything. The person did not eat anything. I didn't give this person anything, or something stuff like that. So when that happens, the person is saying, okay, I didn't eat anything from this. I didn't give this deceased person anything. But I'm trying to say that this person actually died of food poisoning because this person was in your house. You gave him this and was rushed to the hospital. Started coughing blood. He was rushed to the hospital, and this had happened. So in that scenario, if an old man is saying, I do what's it called? Native. I'm a herbalist or something. I do concussions. Like I join things together, and I know things like this. This will happen, and this person cannot die of food poisoning. People that take this don't die. So it cannot be what my daughter or my son gave the disease that killed him. The court will not listen to you because you're not an expert in that field. Opinion evidence is a mere opinion. You don't really know much about it. But that's why we need medical doctors, because they're experts in those fields, in those medical lines. They're experts. So when a doctor is coming to court, of course, when a mother case, of course, definitely we're inviting a doctor that took care of the disease before that. I'm using a murder case as an example now. So there's something called examination of witnesses in court. So when you're examining a witness, especially the prosecution's witness, that's the medical doctor, most times it's usually medical doctors or the police who have carried out the investigation before and all that. So when it's a medical doctor, of course there's something called examination in chief. I'm going to the lawyer that invited that medical doctor is going to ask that medical doctor some questions regarding what had happened. So most time, of course, there will be a point where the lawyer will say, okay, this person was in your hospital, this person was brought in your hospital so time, this thing happened, what did you do? And at some point, most times, if you've been in court before, and I implore everybody to, because it's court in Nigeria is very open, anybody can come in and see what's going on. I implore everybody to at least try it one day. Go to court, listen to what's happening, and you hear a lot of stories. You see medical doctors coming to testify against or for somebody. So when a doctor is being examined in court, of course it gets to a point where the lawyer examining him asks him, okay, what did you do when this person did you carry out your due diligence? What did you do? And they say probably the doctor will say, I did this, I gave the person some injection or whatever, and eventually the person died. So when the person died, what else did you do? Of course, that's when you say I took an autopsy report to show that. And the lawyer will ask the doctor, okay, what do you want us to do with your autopsy report? I want to tender it as an evidence in this case. And if you are tendering it as an evidence in this case, because the doctor is an expert in that field, of course, that evidence will fly in court. The court will admit it. So imagine when the court will admit it, and imagine when the autopsy is saying, okay, truly this person died of food poisoning, and the prosecution has already said before that, yes, my client or the deceased died of food poisoning. And imagine when the doctor now tenders that as an evidence, of course that will strengthen your case in any manner. That's like you've gotten like 60% progress that matters, the prosecution. So this is where we need doctors in to help, because most times they help us, especially when it comes to criminal matters. Another point I also want to I've used murder as an example. I want to also use rape cases, sexual assaults as an example. rape, rape cases are very emotional. I don't know, and rape cases are usually very emotional cases. And I want to say that I think it's actually the hardest offense to prove in Nigeria. It's very hard to prove because what's rape? Rape is basically saying there's no consent. How are you going to prove that there is no consent? So it's really very hard to prove. But at some point, somehow, medical doctors have helped us to medical doctors have helped lawyers most times to at least establish a fact, at least. So that's why when somebody is the victim of rape, I usually advise I usually advise that if that had happened to anybody, the first place you should go to should be the hospital, at least to prove that there was some sort of sexual violation to some extent. Although you can't use that to prove that rape had actually happened, but yes, at least it helps lawyers establish, okay, this actually happened. This person actually knows this person. So that's like progress. Again, according to the Child Rights Act, anybody that's below 18 is a child. You can't sleep with a child. So if a child is 16 or 17, even 17, I know that, but in the eyes of the law, they're actually children. So if a 17 years old girl is saying, this uncle did this, and the uncle is denying, and this person there's actually medical reports to show that this actually happened, that's like, you are like 80% sure of at least getting that judgment in your favor. So that's basically how medical does. So we complement each other in so many ways, especially when it comes to cases that criminal lawyers are friends with a lot of doctors because of the kind of case they handle. Some of them even know some medical terms because they frequent the hospital so well because of some when they handling cases. I don't know whether we've watched, any of us have watched this long movie, Castle and Castle. If we remember when Blossom Chukwujebu got a rape brief, and if you have watched that movie, you will see how Blossom Chukwujebu was always following the doctor. He even followed the doctor to his house, very wide, because he wanted to prove that there was actually something between these two people in court. So that's how doctors and lawyers complement each other. Whether I don't know whether there's any debate, but in practice, we need each other to ensure justice in the society. So basically, so I think that's what I might discuss expert witness. Medical doctors are expert witness. Yeah. So expert witnesses in most cases, especially when it comes to criminal matters and in civil matters too. There's something called medical negligence. I think my colleague Castimosis and even Dr. Rosemary have actually said a lot about duty of care, so I won't be diving into that. So yeah. So in a nutshell, I just want to say that, like I said, I just want to summarize. Sorry. In a nutshell, I just want to say that doctors and lawyers, we complement each other so well because as lawyers, we make sure, because of our role in the society, we ensure that doctors are accountable professionally.
My network is very bad. It locked me out, and then I'm trying to join the meeting again. They say I cannot join, and the meeting is full.
Because of the duty that they have, or the obligation of saving lives, that lawyers play a key role to make sure that they carry out that duty professionally. Because the lives they are saving it's human lives. So you have to be accountable for it. You have to professionally. So, and I think the Chimamanda Adichie's case has to flogged said yes. So there are a lot of medical negligence. If law students should know this, if you go through your law of thoughts, there's most of the things on negligence are usually medical negligence. There is a lot, and so in a nutshell, I just want to say that we complement each other so well because in the pursuit of justice, because lawyers and medical doctors help lawyers substantiate their claims. They help them establish facts in court, and they help them establish and strengthen the arguments in court. Like I think I've given a lot of scenarios right now. So and that's just it. And in return, we try as much as possible to hold debtors accountable for their obligation. So yeah, I think that's all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for listening to me. I'm sorry I summarized because this is really fun.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you so much. This is very very impactful. I feel like is Doctor.
If you have any questions to ask,
Yeah,
or if you don't understand something, you can
yeah.
ask me. I'm always willing to explain it better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so.
Hello.
Yes. Welcome, Doctor
Hello,
Marianne.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, Doctor Marianne. Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Are you hearing me?
Oh, what's it? Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. I am Dr. Odio Agumiri Anijoma.
Welcome,
I'm
welcome.
very sorry. I'm very sorry for this network issues. I've been struggling with it. If you ask Collins in his DM, I've been complaining about something. So what we are going to do now here is that, you know what, I'm not going to waste anybody's time. I'll wrap it up very fast so that at least in summarized versions. So my own part of this conversation, I'm supposed to talk about the legal implication of refusing emergency treatment, decision making when patients are unconscious or unable to consent, handling medical legal issues in accident and trauma cases, doctors' legal protection during emergency interventions, ethical and legal conflict in life and death situations. Right? Now, these are all the topics that we should talk about. For want of because we don't have so much time, I think I should just bring everything together and talk about it, right? Collins, please respond.
Yes, you
Is
can.
that okay?
Yes,
Good.
ma'am.
Now, as doctors, you belong to one of those people who, you know, when in Igbo language, I don't know if we're all Igbos, but in Igbo language, we say, okay, as in let your good not cause you trouble. As a doctor, there is a very high chance that in the course of doing your work, with your open mind, with your good heart, your good Samaritan spirit, you're trying to help everybody, you're trying to do things and do things well, but you can as well get yourself into trouble. You know the difference. Now, looking into anybody who is capable of depositing money or getting things that you need to start attending to the patient, yes, the person will be doing that. While you, as the doctor, will now try to save the patient. Nobody is saying that you should go ahead and use all your hospital resources, especially like you're in a private hospital. Nobody is saying you now use everything you have to treat this patient. They are saying you should be able to resuscitate this patient to the point of life and consciousness. You should be able to do something reasonable for this patient. What that may be, so long as they have brought this patient into the hospital and you people agree that there is a doctor around and you initiate that doctor-patient relationship, you are going to have to do something to this patient, be able to keep that patient alive before you start talking about the rest. Now, from the patient's own side, you can bring it. Maybe people had accidents and then they rush accident victims. Somebody is able to take everybody in the bus and bring all of them to the hospital. Do you know that it is possible that those patients now will now reject the emergency care that you're trying to give to them? Clinical decision that you've made out of your clinical knowledge, and according to you, you believe that this is the very best thing to do at this very moment. But then, in as much as that thing is an emergency intervention, the patient can say no. The question is, who is competent enough to say no? you are now, there are competent guidelines. You will have to assess that patient and see that, okay, like for this patient is up to age, this patient is conscious, this patient has been well informed, this patient has, and this patient is in the right frame of mind to actually make that decision. And then the patient is insisting that no, doctor, this thing I don't want. Let's take for instance Jehovah Witness patient. Those are the ones that we always say, okay, these ones are examples that a lot of people know. So we're just using it. In that case, now, that blood transfusion might be very urgent at that very moment. And then the patient is saying, no, I don't want. Yes, the patient said that he doesn't want. And the patient is competent enough and of sound mind to say that he or she does not want that particular transfusion that you want to do. You're not going to say, since you rejected blood transfusion, I'll leave you now to die. You will be giving, you will have to be doing other things to sustain that patient, the other things that are available that you can actually do while you are informing the person. So I would have given this, I would have given that, but now because you have said no to this, I am not able to, so I'm giving this one as a substitute. Do you get it now? It's as if you're carrying this person along. Am I clear to this point? I need somebody to be responding.
Yes.
Yes,
Good. Then the decision making, the part of decision making in for unconscious patients. This one, when the patient is unconscious, we're trying to see now that this patient is not awake. This patient is not able to say yes or no to some certain things. In this situation, the case here is implied consent in the emergency room. Implied. We assume that this patient has given his or her consent. So now, because a patient is not awake, and maybe there is nobody there for you to, that will help you make decision for that patient, what you're going to do is that one, you will assess what is best for this patient at this time. It is always safe in this situation to invite a senior, or at least talk to another doctor. Give this patient what is best for him or her at that particular time. Then do a very good documentation. You see, as a doctor, documentation can save you. Documentation can put you in trouble. That thing that we carry around, that folder that you're writing in, that thing can bear witness against you in the court. It can bear witness against you in the court. It can also be the thing that they will bring to court and you will be saved. Don't ever joke with documentation as a medical doctor. You should be able to communicate well with patients, understand very well what people are telling you, and be able to document things very well. If you don't document well as a doctor, trust me, your license will not last. You might not have your license for as much time as you've spent in school studying medicine. And that's the truth. But in a situation where there is, let's say there are relations around, but then this patient is unconscious, and then you need to make decisions. So you have somebody to get consent from. There's a way you do it. In this situation, there's a hierarchy of people you can follow. The first is your spouse, the patient's spouse. If the patient's spouse is around, and then the patient's friend is around, it's not the friend that will give you consent. It is the wife or the husband. But if the patient's wife is around, or the patient's husband is alive and around, it is not the patient's sibling that will give consent. I'm saying this thing because when it comes to Nigerian hospital or hospital in rural areas, you will see this thing happen. These are not textbook topics. You will see it real life. Somebody will come in a situation, the brother will say, do this. The wife will say, no. The mother will say another one. You will go and follow the one of the person you think is more powerful, or the person that is looking like he wants to beat you. You can't follow the man of that one. My dear, in court, there's a procedure to follow. So it is the spouse first. If the spouse is not available, you take consent from the adult child of that patient who is up to 18 and above. That's what we call an adult child. If the spouse is not around, the adult child is not around, then you get from the parent. If the parent is also not available, you get from the sibling. If the patient's sibling is not available, you get from the guardian. Do people understand this thing I said now? You get consent from the spouse.
Yes, doctor.
If the spouse is not available, adult child. If that one is not available, parent. If it's not available, sibling, before guardian. If the friend of the person is Otedola and the wife is there telling you no, you say no because I cannot disobey my Otedola. What is that? Somebody that will give me money when we are discharging this patient. Let me do what they said. It doesn't happen like that. Except in a situation where this person has written, where there is a legal documentation somewhere that this person has said, if anything ever happens and I am unconscious, blah, 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 let the decision be made by so person. Should be people hear it now. That's when you will now go out to get consent from that person. Now, handling medical legal issues in accident and trauma cases. This one, starting from our first speaker, Dr. Zemena, he rightfully said it before now. If you have a gunshot victim, if you have some RT, people will say no, that you don't touch until you get a doctor's report. Thank God that thing it doesn't stand anymore. It doesn't make sense anyway. No matter what the person has done, do everything that you can do. You treat the person, you document. Treatment should come before reporting the case. Even in the real sense, like treating this person, trying to make sure that this person is well and alive should be more important to you than documenting than reporting the case. When you are now treating things that could be evidence, don't treat the person was wearing. If you bring out bullets, before you even snap it, document it that this bullet, this so and so place, it was like this, it was like that. As you bring, you keep it. Things that will show evidence that okay, so and so thing happened. Take note of that one and keep it. There are issues that when you see, you should escalate. There are, like when you see issues of domestic abuse, violence. Do you know when a child is being, when a child will tell you, hey, I fell down. The child fell down, but you're seeing marks of cane all over. The child fell down, and then the child has fracture. As in multiple fractures at different places. The child has a black eye. The child is looking malnourished to even you. You don't even have to do plenty assessment to see that this person is hungry, that this person is bruised from possible, maybe they have flogged this person mercilessly, and then the child will now come and say, hey, doctor, I fell down. And you're seeing that the auntie or the uncle that brought the child is even talking over the child, is not allowing the child to give his or her own statement of what happened. Your mind will tell you something, that something is wrong. You as a doctor, you should pay attention enough. You could be the one that will stop somebody from being trafficked. Somebody can be with somebody that is trying to traffic him or her, and then one thing will happen, and they will come to the hospital. When you notice some kind of things, you know that, my dear, there is problem. But before you start running to go and report to the police and be getting police statements, do your own part to treat this person. Treating this person should be important to you at that very moment. Now, this one is another one that used to cause problem. Doctor's legal protection during emergency intervention. This is you now being a good Samaritan. Let me give you an example. You enter a bus, and then you people are on the road now. You come somewhere and you see that there are accident victims, and people are trying to maybe help the patients out based on the little things that they know. I know that you are a doctor. There is this temptation to go there and say, I'm a doctor. Wait, let me tell you what to do. The moment you open your mouth and shout that I'm a doctor, let me tell you, it becomes your responsibility to make sure that that person gets good care. Try your best to make sure that those patients don't die or they don't start having complications. The moment you say that I'm a doctor, there's this, the other people there will begin to trust you. They would have a level of hope that yes, a doctor is here and is supposed to save the situation. So when you are in places where you don't have enough medical equipment, there is no much that you can do here. You can't really do a lot here. Don't come there, come and shout, I'm a doctor. Wait, let me do it. As a good person that you are, you can come there and say, wait, I think I have an idea. Let's do it like this, let's do it like that. Be giving suggestive statements. Help everybody to, get to a hospital, or at least where they can get help, where you can have the things that you need. And then you now start to see how you can take over management from there. Don't come and go to somewhere that you don't know anybody, you cannot even help yourself. Even if you want to help those people, you can't. Be saying I'm a doctor, if the patient will be, wait, let me take over. If you do it, you are going to take responsibility of that patient, and we expect that you should be able to, offer the best emergency care at that very point in time. So it's about being a good Samaritan. Now, when you also come to the hospital, in terms of emergency, in an emergency situation, everywhere is chaotic. Sometimes people don't try your best that emergency situation, that emergency intervention that you want to do. There is a difference between informed consent and just consent. Informed consent is, sir, this is what the situation is. These are all the options that we have. This is the best thing for us to do. You can't. The patient understands what you're talking about. You understand the patient response. In fact, it is best to ask the patient, what do you understand by what I said now? And the patient will tell you back. You'll be 100% sure that you and the patient are on the same page. Then you now do that thing. Informed consent is important. Make sure that you do your best for every patient, that you attend to in the emergency. Make sure that you do your very best at that point in time. Then do a proper documentation, because whether you're going to be spared in court or not, is that your documentation that will save you. And then don't go and do good Samaritan and do the things that you are not supposed to do. Nobody will listen that it is your emotion that made you do this, so it doesn't work like that. You are a doctor. At all times, you should be able to make logical decisions. You should be moment. You should be ethical and logical and legal conflict in life and death situation. Nowadays, and we will group this into three. We will talk about maternal and fetal well-being. We will talk about resource scarcity cases like ICU, and then do not resuscitate others. When you have in a situation for people in the ONG, now a mother, you have this situation that you are caught between you need to save the mother or the child. You know that the mother and the child, both of them are humans, right? Both of them need help, and you are the one that will save them. And you are the one that saves them. The mother is the legal decision maker if she's competent. The mother is the decision maker at that point. This thing now, if this is a situation where you have to do something that will benefit either the mother more than the child, or the child more than the mother. For a woman who is competent, who can say, yes, this is essentially what I want, let's do it like this. It is that mother that you're listening to. She's competent, you've assessed her. She's the one that will make the final decision, whether you're saving her or you're saving her. But in a situation where the woman is unconscious and you cannot get consent, you treat the mother first. The baby's right will now come after birth. Do you understand what I just said now? I need a response, please.
Yes, carry on.
Good. Then, resource scarcity situation. Example, ICU. You have accident victims, and then you have 15 patients, but you have only 3 ventilators. Are you going to give the ventilator to a 97-year-old man who is hypertensive, diabetic, he has organ failure, he has a lot of things? And then you have a 15-year-old girl that you can give that ventilator to. Who will you give the ventilator to in this situation?
Okay.
There is
Okay.
no what you're going to do in that ICU situation, because that ICU situation is not a textbook situation. It happens real life. They will bring in plenty people. Something mass casualty now. Plenty people will just come to A&E. What are you going to do? Who should you attend to first? When they bring all those patients to A&E, it's not for you to say, this one they brought my crush. Let me try my best to save my crush's life. Oh, Biko, let me do something. This one is my chance. No, that's not what you do at that point. At that time, the patient, you first of like in that emergency situation now, when there is mass casualty, you will do your best to separate. You will do triage. Triage is what they usually do in emergency. It's not first come first serve. You are attending to the person who needs your help more, like most urgent at that particular time. They have brought in plenty emergency patients. People are laying on the floor. You don't have plenty beds. What you're going to do is start separating the ones, you be keeping them, the ones that are alive. You separate them from the ones that are dead. Then you start assessing their state at that time. When you come to emergency, you see that all of them are accident victims. So, but one person is shouting seriously, "Doctor, die, doctor, hey, he's paining you." And then you see that, okay, this person is shouting quite alright. And you're asking them questions and they're responding. "Hey, how are you?" And the person is telling you, "It's paining me, please come and help me." And then the other one is there, gasping for breath. That particular person that's gasping for breath, if you don't do anything at that time, the person's situation will even get worse. It will also get to that extent where you can no longer save him. So you will prioritize patients in emergency according to the hospital's triage policy. The DNR, do not resuscitate. Some people have standing orders in that hospital. Some people already have standing orders that they don't want to be resuscitated. Some people wear bands. When they bring in patients for you and then you look at their hands and you're seeing DNR band, don't say, no, I cannot allow this man to die. He was my maths teacher in secondary school. This person was our principal. She was such a nice woman. Let me resuscitate. I will explain when she wake up. And then you start doing CPR. Let me give you an example. There's this lecturer in school. I'm not mentioning name, that is school department, that I like so much. And he's a witness, he's a Jehovah Witness. So one time I was just looking at this man and say, this man that I like so much like this. Then one day now, God forbid, I will now be in A&E and they will bring him in. Then somebody will tell me that if and I know that it is blood transfusion that I need to do to save this man and bring him back. I was just joking with one of my classmates. I say, I cannot allow this man to die. I will just do what I can do. When he wake up, I will explain to him why I did that thing. That thing that you are thinking of doing, if you try it, when the patient wake up, that patient will sue you and you will lose everything. That patient will sue you. So this is one of the examples. That do not resuscitate of a thing is not very common. It's not very common in Nigeria, or people are not doing it that much. But when you meet somebody that has a do not resuscitate order, please obey. Please obey. Do you get? In situations where I'm going back to that emergency again, they bring in an emergency patient For instance, I had one patient, a personal experience. I had a patient, an accident victim. He was brought in. Though we already told the nurses, so once somebody come in, better tell them the emergency deposit. But then the patient came in, they saw his state, and they rushed him in and called me and said, "Doctor, come, we have an emergency patient." And then I ran downstairs. The patient was already in. We've given this patient pain medication and tetanus, antibiotic. We've drawn our best. We've even cleaned the other part of the wound. The wound was tied with a very dirty cloth. I've cleaned the wound from the side, and I told them, okay, gently open this thing for me. Let me see. They opened it gently, and I saw that this bleeding was not something I could. This bleeding, it's not something. If I touch this patient now, I won't do it and do it well. But I've given this patient the basic care that he needs. I used our own hospital brand new crab bandaged the guy's hand, gave him those drugs that he needed, and then told them, "Oh yeah, refer to so and so place," and then I referred. Do you know that patient left and did not pay me till today? Do you know? That patient left there and did not pay me. And I asked for my money. These people had the mind to bully me because I look small. They bullied me. Told me that I'm mad. I should come and collect the money and let them see. All of them, they are big, hefty men. And then one small girl, one place. If they beat me now, I'll become the next patient. They carried this patient and they left. And they didn't pay me till today. But how much did I lose? How much did the hospital lose in that thing? It was that situation, that is a better situation than for me to have said, no, deposit 80K or to deposit 80K and not touch him. Then you will not touch the patient and the guy will die there. You see that money that I wasted doing that thing I did, you engage in court, you go to court, as in, and court cases now, it's not that day that you come to court that it might end. You might have to come many times. At the end of the day, you will now still lose everything. How much is your MBBA? How much have you even gotten from MBBS after 10 years? You go to court, they will slam you with one rubbish. Then another thing, as a doctor, the patient is your patient. The patient is not your friend. Treat the patient well. Do what is best for every patient, irrespective of where the patient is coming from, irrespective of the patient's village. Don't say, somebody from this village married my sister and maltreated her. We will see she today. Don't do that. Do your best for that patient, but make sure that you document. Documentation will save you. There's nothing that will save you as a doctor like documentation. Do your best for every patient at all times and make sure that you document. When you are confused, talk to a senior colleague and also another doctor. Even if there is no senior colleague, talk to another doctor that is your level. Don't make some certain decisions alone. Don't go and be a hero. And when you want to write investigation or expose patients to options, you want to write investigation for a patient, you want to expose patients to some certain option. Don't say, I would have wanted to write A, but let me write a G regular. They don't have the money. When that patient will die or there will be a complication, and they will now find out that there is something, that there is a test that they would have done that would help. But you now, the doctor, you're the one that decided that they don't have the money, that you're trying to help them. That's when they will tell you that Dangote is this person's godfather. They didn't tell you at first. These people that you used to go and beg strength from, you're the one that used to go and beg for strength to help them. But at that very moment now, when something will go wrong, you will see how things will turn around. So that's why I keep saying emphasis on do your best for every patient and do a proper documentation. Thank you very much. I hope that by all these things I've said, I was able to, at least I did not confuse you. I hope I did not confuse you. And I hope that I used, these examples I used, that they are practical enough. I really hope that they are practical, because I did not want to start saying big things or be using highfalutin words. I preferred to use life experiences, examples that have actually happened. It happens on time, it happens in Parkland, it happens in private hospitals, all these things that I mentioned now. I hope so. I can, if you have question or anything, ask me the one I can answer. I will try my best.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marianne. I really appreciate this impactful teaching and for telling us from your experience as well. And I really appreciate my speakers. Everyone did very great. Seriously, I learned a lot. A lot. At least now I cannot be the same with the average. At least is based on this now, this knowledge I have. At least I'll be moving. When I become doctor, I'll be moving in a better direction compared to those that don't have this knowledge. Thank you so much. Please, if you have questions, you can ask now. We have about 3 minutes so that we can close. Okay, we've spent a lot of time actually. So please, if you have questions, ask now so that we can close.
Hello?
Hello? Yes,
Hello?
yes, Dr. Marian, available.
I'm seeing the question from the chat.
Okay,
Somebody said,
okay.
who is legally liable when an AI assisted medical decision causes harm? AI assisted medical decision, as in patient went to ask Meta AI or ChatGPT questions, and then they said what you should do and you did it. Am I correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Am I correct? If that is what you are referring to, I don't. It's like it's you and that AI. I don't know, because even Meta AI, I think most times they also write that they are not doctors. You should still meet a professional for better explanation. If I'm correct, that's what I know that they usually do. If you guys use Meta AI and make a bad decision, Meta AI tells you. See, let me just give you one advice now, in the absence of other questions. Never you Google your symptoms. Don't do it. As a person or as a doctor or whatever, as a person now, when you are sick, don't Google your symptoms. I will tell you why. One certain time, I Googled my symptoms when I was in school. I think my 300 level or so. I went to Google my symptoms. Internet told me I have cancer. That I was dying. Told me it could also be HIV. I was panicking like a fool. I already I ran to the lab. I told them to do HIV test now. The moment they brought needle to draw my blood for HIV test, I remembered when they taught us that particular thing that I went to browse. I remember when they taught us that thing in class. Like, hey, God, I'm already here. I now just did the HIV test like that. But remember, I already panicked. I was scared. The way I ran to that lab and everything. If it was that I woke up on a normal day and said, let me go and do HIV test, it's different. This one, I've made myself scared. I've thought about things I shouldn't have thought about. I was worried. I've, make myself unnecessarily uncomfortable for something that shouldn't have happened to me. And sometimes all these patients that used to Google symptoms, they'll finish Googling their symptoms. They'll Google one symptom, and the symptom will tell them one thing. If you Google headache now, headache can tell you brain tumor. It's one of the causes of headache, obviously. But it will not tell you the type of headache. But the internet, it didn't take a proper history from you. It did not examine you. So it will not tell you what it will tell you now. And you start panicking. When those patients come to the hospital, they will be arguing with the doctors. Okay. My question is DNR. I don't really understand, but I would like to connect my understanding of it to a scenario. If a doctor is aware of an unconscious patient's position concerning blood transfusion, but he is not in the state where he or she can decide, what should the doctor do when there is no one that will give consent? If a doctor is aware, how is the doctor aware? Do you mean in situations where maybe this patient already has a folder in the hospital? If the patient already has a folder in the hospital and it is in that patient folder, and they bring in that patient in an emergency situation, at that very moment, the person is unconscious. You are not expected to you're not expected to resuscitate the patient because it has already been documented in that patient's folder that is his or her stand. But if it is just what you are thinking or your assumption, it will not stand. Because when that patient die and you don't have anything to prove that this patient asked for, you don't have anything to prove. Nobody, it's not like the patient recorded a voice note and was shouting, don't resuscitate or something. You don't have any proof that the patient say you should not resuscitate. If you go ahead to resuscitate, if you don't resuscitate that patient and the patient dies, the family members will sue you. Even family members that did not like the person enough when the person was alive, all of them will still sue. Then somebody said, why do some patients choose not to get resuscitated? Is there any danger in it? Okay, good. The reason why some patients will choose not to be resuscitated is that for some people, when you finish resuscitating them, you might not resuscitate them to the point that they regain all their, like everything that they used to do before. You might not resuscitate them to the point where they will be able to do everything that they used to do before. Some people will have to be on ventilator for a. People will tell you, no. I don't want to suffer. Once it happens, please just leave me alone. I will cope. For those people, you're going to leave them alone. It's their decision. What's your view on assisted suicide as a medical doctor? I think you're referring to mercy killing. As a euthanasia. You are not allowed to do that. You are, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to offer mercy killing to anybody. What you can do is, for somebody who is in the end of life state, you try your best to make sure that this person is comfortable. If the person is in pain due to some drugs that they are taking, you try your best to see that you make life, that ending stage, more comfortable and for that patient, make that as painless as possible. But that mercy killing, if you do it, we will sue you. They will sue you and you will go in for it. Okay. I've read a situation where a doctor or hospital refused to treat an inmate because of their criminal record. Where does the law help in this matter? And does the hospital have a valid reason? Even though it may seem they are violating the Hippocratic Oath. Okay, a criminal record. That somebody is an inmate does not deny them from having a right to life. Especially in situations where, like, you are in a private hospital, because most private hospitals, people are trying their best to be careful, because when they sue you, they will sue you alone. So now what you can do in this case, offer only emergency care, as in just do the one you can do to keep that patient stable enough. Then you can refer to a teaching hospital if you have much problem with keeping close.
Okay, Dr.
My
Marian.
question is on hierarchy.
Dr. Marian, it's time already for us to end the meeting. Is there one more question?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, I should take one more question. First, I call it. Hello?
Yeah. Barrister
Yes, I should
Moses.
take one more question.
No, sorry.
Hello, yes. Good evening.
Can I speak?
Yes, speak,
Okay,
Barrister.
yes, you can.
Okay. Sorry. I just want to respond to somebody else.
It's echoing. I can't even hear you well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Okay. I want to respond to somebody, answer somebody's question on expert witness. Ezeikin is asking, what can invalidate the testimony of an expert witness like a medical doctor that will make it inadmissible in court? Okay, I just want to answer this question because I spoke on expert witness. Okay, in law, there's what we call admissibility of evidence. There are three things that will make not just medical doctors now, anybody, even the plaintiff or the prosecution or the defendant, anybody in court that has a case. There are three things that the law considers according to the Evidence Act. The probative value of that evidence. Is the probative value of that evidence? The second one is the relevancy of that evidence. Is it relevant to the case in issue? If we're talking about murder, of course, an autopsy report is relevant. Then the importance of that evidence. That's three things that the law considers. So if that evidence passes these three tests, the law will the court will admit it. Then So I don't, if he passes these three tests, the court will admit it. But if you are going to see it from the place of the prosecution, the person that is alleging, then it's now the duty now shifts to the defendant to discredit their expert witness. That's where you have cross-examination. That's what we call cross-examination. That's where you see people say, oh, the lawyers are harassing their witness. No, there's most likely it's not harassment. Sometimes we're just trying to make sure to prove to the court that what you're saying is not true. So that's where sometimes when I say relationship with medical doctors or other people from other fields, it's very important, because when you are cross-examining an expert witness, of course, you can't know everything in the medical field, or if you can read up, or you can ask doctors before. Let's say I'm going to cross-examine a medical doctor tomorrow on a case that has to deal with food poisoning, and I have a medical doctor as a friend, and I can just confide in that medical doctor the facts of the issue. She tell me things that I should ask this medical doctor. Most of the things that medical doctor might not even expect me as a lawyer to know. So that's a way of throwing the expert witness out of balance, because most times they will think, okay, they don't even know much, they're not in that field, so they can just say anything in court and we believe them because medical jargons, and we are not doctors. But because I've asked, that's what we call preparation before going to court. Because I've asked, probably I've read up on some things, and I'm asking you as an expert, did you do this? Did you do due diligence? Did you take consent? All those things. And the medical doctor, because sometimes, that's how that's how the courtroom is. This anxiety that people, especially if you're not a lawyer. So try as much as possible, because the main aim of the cross-examiner, that's the lawyer cross-examining the expert witness, is to discredit whatever he has said in the beginning. We are trying to tell the court that he's lying. So you have to throw in even annoying questions, not so annoying, because the sky is not the limit to cross-examination, but some questions that will just throw him off balance. So that's the way to discredit. But when it comes to inadmissible, as long as that evidence passes those three tests, the court is admitting. Like I said, it's a criminal. Most times it's deal with criminal matters, and the court is always very cautious. They admit as much as possible, just to make sure that there is fair hearing. So that's just my question. That's my answer to your question. Let's say, thank you. I hope I didn't confuse you. Thank you. I hope I didn't confuse you. So that's my answer to your question. Yeah. So.
Okay.
If anybody. Okay, Castle.
Yeah, there was a question somebody asked here concerning should a hospital refuse medical treatment to a suspected criminal who was shot by the police while attempting to flee. Or healthcare professionals are typically obligated to treat every patient regardless of their crimes. I stated this while I was in the course of my discussion. I made mention of Section 20 of the National Health Act 2014. It is very, very pertinent. As far as today is concerned, should any patient approach any hospital, or should any patient be brought to a hospital, with gunshots, no hospital, no medical personnel under the extant laws in Nigeria today is to refuse treatment. I heard Dr. Miriam where she said that you should try the one you can try and refer the person. As me, without conceding that you be able to resuscitate the person and refer, perhaps a private hospital, refer the person to a teaching hospital, right? On the person's way to that teaching hospital, the patient dies. Whereas the private hospital has all the adequate facility to treat that patient, the hospital will still be liable, to lawsuit. So, like I said, no one should use that as an excuse to deprive a patient of his life. So it is important. The law is the law. There is no emotion, like my learned brother Kosi said. So healthcare providers must ensure that they abide by the law. There are a lot of things that involve, but this is not what you keep saying here. I will keep saying here because of want of time. And but
Yeah,
so a criminal will have to be treated. Thank you so much.